Hi there, good afternoon everybody. So I seem to have lost Olya this morning. She hasn't appeared yet, which is quite unlike her. But I'm just going to do my usual chat for a minute or two to make sure you're all connected okay, because I'm still seeing a 0 for the number of viewers at the bottom of the screen. So I don't have a huge amount to cover today anyway, just a few admin points really, and any questions you might have. So I'm just going to ping up the Q&A app. Okay, so please don't, you're a bit quiet on the questions front yesterday, so if you could start off, if you can see and hear me okay, then please just send a hello message so I know that you're all there, and that'll be great, and then we can get started. And I don't think it'll take very long this morning. Oh, great, brilliant. That was quick. Evelina and Wen are there. Fantastic. So, right, I'm still getting 0 on my screen, but maybe there's just a delay on that. Right. Okay, so where we're up to then. Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, it's still horribly dark outside. I don't think you can see behind me. Just about starting to get light, but anyway, so good morning, good afternoon. We're up to 5 viewers, fantastic, but still no sign of Olya. Olya seems to have done a runner today, so she might just beam in at some point, or she's probably got some disaster with her computer. Hello, Abraham, as well. Right, so what did I want to talk about today? I've got a few notes. First of all, as to where we're at with the module, last night I posted topic 5 for you, your final topic, believe it or not. Hello, Evan, as well. So you should now have all that you need there on the blog for tackling topic 5. So same applies as usual. It's the first post by the end of today, and your final summary post by the end of tomorrow. And tomorrow in the Hangout, we will give you some feedback on your topic 4. We've made a start on the marking, but we haven't finished it yet. So I won't say anything about that today, but the ones I've seen so far, there's been some good stuff. One general point I did want to make about topic 5 that I very much encourage all of you to do is to interact with the other group, because you're now at pretty much exactly the same point. They do their topics spread over 2 weeks. Each topic is spread over 2 weeks, but they're on the second part of topic 5 now. So they're just doing their comments and preparing their final posts on topic 5. So I think if you have a look at what they've done, and I've encouraged them to look at yours as well, then it would be great to get some interaction going either through Twitter or through comments on each other's blogs. Or you may just, for example, get an idea of a particular tool you might like to try out that someone else has used. Some people are being quite creative with video, for example. There's a nice little tool called Powtoon, which is Powtoon, which is a nice little free tool for creating almost like cartoon type videos. And that looks quite fun. Some people have been experimenting with that. So it would be good to see some creativity coming through. You've obviously by now very much got the hang of the standard kind of text-based blog post. So please feel free to experiment. Okay, so that's some general points about where we are. Still not seeing any sign of Olya. Don't forget, any questions, just ping them up here, and I'll deal with them as I see them. I just wanted to show you something else. Twitter, I wanted to say a few things about, because I really like you to do a bit more with Twitter, and I'll show you something which hopefully will explain that. I'm just going to share my screen. So here we go. Right, now you probably can't see the actual labels on this very clearly because some of them are very tiny. But I'm going to put this up in a blog post for you so you can have a look at it in more detail, and I'll zoom into it in a minute anyway, but I wanted to show you the complete picture. This is basically a tweet map. of all the tweets that have used the module hashtag, and it shows the individuals who've done the tweeting, and it also shows a line which connects the people they've been corresponding with on Twitter. So what we can do at any point, we started saving the tweets at the start of the module, and this diagram was produced yesterday. And it would be interesting to see how it changes, because how it looks at the moment is very much everybody corresponding with either me or Olya. You can see I'm in big type there because I've done the highest number of tweets. And if you look and you see some of the very tiny ones, these are people who've only perhaps sent one tweet. And there's quite a few there interacting with Olya as well. But you will see that most people are right round the outside of this diagram. And so they've basically just sent one or two tweets which have been into the middle. But there's very little cross-tweeting. You know, I would like to see these lines, instead of kind of centering on me and Olya, being much more connected between you, and also going out off to the left or to the right, where you're connecting with completely different groups. And I don't really see much of that happening at the moment. Now, from a marketing perspective, this is a really useful tool, because it's produced by one of my PhD students, and what he's looking at is how charities in particular are communicating with their supporters on Twitter, and using this kind of analysis to find out who their key supporters are, who are the kind of central hubs in their networks who are communicating with other people in the network. So encouraging people to donate to a campaign, for example. So it's a very good way of getting a map of exactly who, not just who is in your network, because you can tell that from your follower list anyway, but you know, what are they actually doing? You know, who are the kind of hubs and who are the connectors between different parts of the network? And this is really critical information if you're trying to build any kind of community. So what I'd like to see is I'd like to get Chris to reproduce this diagram at the end of the week, and really see an awful lot more connections between you and also with people outside of the module. We've got a few people in here so far. If I can highlight Chris, for example, here that you met, who came into the Hangout last week. She's been corresponding with a few of you, you can see. And also Sylvian, who was helping out with the blogs at the start, he's there. Charlie Mason is a student on the other module, so he's the one that beamed in to talk to you last week, and also Ruben. So there are people there who are kind of outside the core group, but it would be great to bring in a few more and see how this diagram changes over time. So please have a think about using Twitter more strategically, particularly when it comes to your other posts, your final posts. I've just lost my main window now. Hang on a moment. And I think we've got Olya appeared, which is fantastic. Hello, good morning. Are you
like this, some technical issues.
Good morning to you. I've just been, I didn't see exactly when you came in. I've just been talking about that Twitter, and I've shown Chris's Twitter map, and I've asked people to think about using Twitter more, not just with us, but with each other and with people outside of the group, in terms of building their own networks for the final post, and we can see then how the diagram changes. Okay, I've got a question here from Carol. He says, let's have a look. As you've introduced topic 5 with the term open, okay. Are we bounded by just the academia aspect, or are we able to discuss the broad subjects of openness? No, yeah, that's a very good question. It's entirely up to you. You can choose any aspect of openness that you find interesting and useful and that you would like to explore. I mean, yeah, if you look at what the other group did, a few of them chose the kind of access to academic articles issue, because I guess they found that particularly relevant or particularly frustrating if they were looking for things that they couldn't find or that they had to pay to view. But no, I mean, you could apply it to music or to any kind of content, really. And the issues around whether you pay or don't pay for materials it is something that, you know, just choose whatever context you think would be interesting to cover. So yeah, you've got some flexibility on that. Right, I'm not seeing any more questions. Okay, so where have I got to on my list? I've talked about the tweets, talked about topic 5. Oh yes, volunteers for tomorrow. We've had a volunteer. If you were watching yesterday, you remember that we asked for volunteers who might like to join us on tomorrow's hangout. So that would be in the same sense that that Olya is now. So you would see your colleague on the screen, either in the bottom window or in the main screen if they were speaking, like Olya is. Yes, she's just flipping in and out as a demo. So we've had a volunteer, and that's Ben. So thank you, Ben, if you're listening now, for volunteering. And as I said in a tweet to you yesterday, we will send you a separate link to do that, and that will be just before it starts tomorrow morning, so we can then get you hooked up and make sure it's working okay. But if anyone else wants to volunteer, we've only had the one so far, but yeah, just send us a tweet or a message in some form, and we'll sort that out for you. Okay, Olya, have you got anything that you wanted to mention this morning in particular?
No, nothing special. I still have to start having a look at the next topic. So I've kind of peeked yesterday, but I've not actually properly had a look, so I can't really comment. But yeah, I'll be doing that today, and I think everyone that I heard from seemed happy and managed to find everything that they wanted, so I think that's okay.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment. Okay, so just a few words then about your final piece, because like you're now on the last of the actual set topics, but you don't forget you've then got a week to come up with your final blog post, which really pulls everything together in terms of what you think all of this means for building your own digital profiles, both for educational purposes going forward with the module and for employability, thinking about the future. So what we don't really want to see in these final posts is an attempt to summarise the whole course, because that's not what we want. It's an impossible thing to do anyway. It's really thinking about what it means for you personally. What have you learned? What particular connections have you made? What particular insights did you gain that you're going to use for other things that you will find useful and that you're going to commit to taking forward? And obviously you can't do everything at once. Some things you might have started to do already, other things you might have put on a list to check out in the future. But perhaps a way of structuring your post might be to think about, what are the kind of short-term priorities versus the longer-term ones, and think about why you've put different tasks in different categories. But that's just one idea. You don't have to do it that way. And you might also want to show off some of the things some of the new tools perhaps that you've learned and played around with during the module that you want to make more of in the future. So that's really what the final section is about. And with the other group, we asked them, because their course was spread over 12 weeks rather than 12 days, we asked them to actually demonstrate what had changed. For example, how many people they had on how many followers they had on Tutor at the start of the module versus at the end. But we haven't specified that for you because you've got such a short time period to make much of a difference in that respect. But I think you will find it useful to look back. If you remember right at the very start, we asked you to do an audit of how you currently use the web. So I think if you look back at that and you reflect on what aspects you've changed, then that would be a good discussion to bring into your final post. And I'm just getting a question here from Lena. Do you mean tomorrow's hangout with the board? No, not at all. No. No, it means that the volunteers will be with us, and everyone else will see them on their screens, like you're seeing Olya and me now. So the hangout will be exactly as normal, except we will have extra guests who will be from your group. Well, I say guests, but it's just one at the moment. But like I said, we're open to more volunteers. But no, for everyone else who just wants to watch, it's exactly the same as normal. You will just be seeing one or two of your classmates participating as well. And what we really like them to say is really just a bit of reflection to everybody else on what they're getting out of the module and why they volunteered, um, and anything in particular that they want to provide as feedback either to us or to you guys. So it would only be a very short contribution, but I think it would be an interesting thing to do if you've never done it before, if you've never been kind of part of a broadcast like this. But like I said yesterday, we can't include everybody. It would be nice to have everyone in a window along with Otter, and for you to take it in turns to talk. But the limitations of the Hangout format is 10 maximum. So if we really get that many volunteers, we could try and accommodate you. But I think it only really works if you've got a group of perhaps 4 or 5 people, really. Otherwise, it just gets a bit too confusing. So yeah, more volunteers welcome, but if you just want to watch as normal, that's absolutely fine as well. Okay. So I'm just going to check my list and see if I've got any other points I wanted to raise. So we'll just give you a minute or two for questions. Any other questions? Let's see if those pop up. Looks like we've got 23 people watching. Good. Anything else from you today, Olya?
No, I'd just say not to worry too much. If you think you might want to join in, but you're worried, don't be. Just give it a go. See what happens. It's fine.
What's the worst thing that can happen is that it cuts off or we can't hear you. But it's all a bit.
We'd definitely like to hear about your kind of experience. What you found easy and what you found kind of maybe difficult, because you only get to see us like this, but we don't get to see you at all. So it's kind of a bit tricky for us as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, and it's also reminded me that we are going to do this like extra focus group with Chris Costa, who joined us last week. We're doing some research basically into this whole learning format. So we would really like to get a hangout group of you together fairly soon, while it's still fresh in your minds. I'm not sure if you're going on to another module directly after this. Possibly not, given the timing. But we'd really like volunteers for that as well, and that would be a private discussion that wouldn't be broadcast to anyone else. But we'll say a bit more about that tomorrow and before the module ends. I've got another question here from Evan. Is there a guideline on how long a video must be in order to qualify as a video post? Well, I think really a couple of minutes is plenty, because it's obviously difficult to say what's the equivalent video to a 400-word post. But basically, the ones that people have done have been between 1 and 2 minutes. I think that's probably enough. And particularly if you've mixed it up, so perhaps sometimes if you've included pictures or other animations, and it's not just talk, then that can make it a bit longer. So yeah, that's kind of the same question really. Yeah, I mean, clearly we're not going to count the words in your video, but we certainly find, and we've been doing videos for the MOOCs that we've been running here, and 3 minutes, the research suggests, is the real maximum time for any video where you keep people's attention. So that would be and I think 3 minutes is probably longer than you'd want. We're talking about one specific post anyway. So I would say aim for around 2 minutes. Okay, and Carol is asking about Prezi. So yeah, again, I mean the same thing really applies to Prezi. When just think about it as, you know, how long would it take you if you were talking through a Prezi as a presentation? How long would it take you to do that? And again, think about the sort of around about the 2 minutes as being the kind of average time. It doesn't really matter, but for all of these things, I think you know, it's important to think about, you know, from a marketer's perspective, you want these things to attract people's attention and to be interesting, and the longer they are, then the more likely people are to switch off. That applies to whatever medium you're using. So I think aim for 2 minutes, whatever you're trying out.
I think also, if you think about how you normally would structure your post, there are certain things you want to say. If you think about it in the same way with anything else that you do, have you actually said everything that we would want to hear about from you on the topic in order for it to have enough, you know, enough kind of material to satisfy what you would normally do with a blog post? So, like Lisa said, no more than 3 minutes, but, you know, are you going to cover at least briefly everything that you would if you'd written the post? I don't know if that's a good approach, because it's a different medium. It's slightly flexible, but I still think you have to kind of put your points across.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, yes, the content clearly needs to be there, and perhaps if you started out with just some handwritten notes about the points you wanted to cover, whether you were going to do it in writing or on video, then, you know, as Olya says, as long as you've covered all of those points and you haven't just waffled on and on, then really that's meeting the criteria. So that's fine. Okay, I'm seeing another question here from Yvonne. Let's have a look. You mentioned something about short-term and long-term. Could I repeat? Yeah, okay. That was just a suggestion for how you might like to structure your final end of module post, because what we were asking you to do is to reflect on what particular aspects of the module you're going to take forward in terms of furthering your studies and improving your employability through your digital profiles. So I think what I'm trying to suggest there is that you're not going to rush out and do a load of different things all at once. But there might be some things that you think, yes, I can do this straight away. That's really quite easy. It's a quick win. And there may be other things that you think, you know, producing videos, for example, you think, oh, well, I'm going to need a bit of time to get my head around that. So I'll put that on my list for something to try out over Christmas or next term or whatever you think is appropriate. So I guess we're just really asking you to prioritise. So you don't just have a standard list and say, I'm going to do these 6 things, but you also think about, you know, which are the most important to you, which you think will give you most immediate impact, and also which things are kind of nice to have so that you can leave perhaps to a bit later on. So that was what I was meaning there. But you don't have to do it that way. That was just an idea of how you might like to structure it. But I think it's a useful thing to think about, because I'm sure you've got the message loud and clear from this module now that you know, basically these things take time. It takes time to write a good blog post. It takes time to produce a Prezi or a video. It takes time to read and find the appropriate references that you want. It takes time to comment and reflect on what other people are saying. So you know, these aren't just quick fixes. And building your networks on something like LinkedIn is particularly relevant because, you know, you build contacts gradually. You don't kind of suddenly go from 0 to 50 contacts overnight. It's not that kind of network. So some of these things take a long time and require a fair bit of active management to do properly. So, you know, thinking about where you're going to fit that time in and how it how the priorities fit in with your other obligations is all part of the process. Okay, so let's see if there's any other questions. No, looks like a blank on that. Right, okay, so we'll sign off in a moment then. We'll just summarise where we've got to, just to give you a minute or two if there are any last questions coming through. So basically what we've said this morning is that you're starting on topic 5. We've asked you to think about trying something different, if you haven't done so already, to interact with the other group and see what things you might like to, what ideas they've had that you might like to build on, and to use Twitter much more actively. I showed you the map of how it's being used at the moment with the hashtag. I would very much encourage you to share things with each other and to reach out and start to build your networks beyond the course. We did ask you to, last week, to send in examples, and we had a few, but it wasn't very many. A few people sent in their examples of good Twitter accounts to follow. But again, thinking about that, so we can produce a list that everyone can use, will immediately give your own Twitter networks a boost. So yes, we've asked you to be a bit more strategic about and more proactive with how you use Twitter. Because from the diagram, it was very clear that most of the conversations at the moment are between one of you and one of us. So it's very much a linear interaction rather than a network per se. Okay, so don't forget, any other volunteers for tomorrow, just let us know, join in the hangout. And otherwise, we will see you again then when we'll go through our feedback on topic 4, which will be finished by tomorrow, and deal with any questions you have on the final topic. Okay, I'm not seeing any more, so perhaps if people just want to post any smileys or goodbyes, so we know you're still there, and then we'll sign off. Not seeing anything. Another question. Now that's an interesting question. Are we allowed to use the blogs by the Southampton?
Oh,
Why not?
that sounds good.
Why not?
But please just put a link to where you've commented, because that means a bigger space to search for.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Why not? But yeah, you made a good point, and some of you still aren't doing it. There's a few gaps. If you've got a gap on your profile, your Mark profile, it's because we couldn't find a comment. And it may be you've done a really good comment, but please make it easy for us to find them. And the easiest way to do that is either to mention in your blog post itself what you've commented on and include a link to it. And not just to the blog, but to the actual comment. You can get comment-specific links. Sometimes people have made them a bit hard to find. And yeah, certainly if you're going to be commenting on the other groups, then we'll definitely need a link to help us find it. But yeah, that's a very good question, and why not?
Maybe we should suggest to the other group to comment on some of yours.
Yeah, we could try that.
Chaos.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, why not? Okay. Right, thank you for that one. That's definitely food for thought. Right, I'm not seeing any more. Any smileys? Any happiness out there? It'd be nice to see. You happy, Olya?
Yep.
Good. You actually managed to sleep last night, did you, rather than
I did, although
doing feedback at 3 AM? Yeah.
No, unfortunately not. Although now I'm thinking I maybe should have done it.
Okay, so you're not seeing any final questions? Okay, so we're going to wave goodbye now then, and we'll see you again same time tomorrow. So,
Bye.
cheerio. Bye.